As we begin our look back at Prep Baseball Report's recent Super 60 at the Max in suburban Chicago, I'm joined by PBR Wisconsin's Vinny Rottino. Vinny, man, good to see you again.
Great to see you, Cory.
So Wisconsin represented by Michigan commit Jack Council, Florida State bound Cal Fisher, and Oregon State commit Evan Gustafson. Tell me about how they performed and how you thought they stacked up against some of the very best in the class of 2023.
Yeah, I thought they showed out really, really well. I thought that they belonged in this Super 60. Certainly, I mean, you mentioned those schools that they committed to, some of the top schools in the entire country. And you know what stood out to me for all these guys is, look, they're guys that they bring different skill sets. Each one of them does. You got Jack Council, who was a tremendous athlete, and he showed out well with the numbers. And then he can also play baseball on top of it. And then you have the Cal Fishers of the world in the Super 60 that, you know, he is he doesn't necessarily like just wow you in these showcase settings, but when you see him play in game, I mean, this kid absolutely rakes. You saw the rhythmic swing that he had in BP. Same thing in the defensive portion of the event. There's just some smoothness to his game, as well as Evan Gustafson. I thought he showed the same thing. He's not going to wow you either in that showcase setting. He's got that smooth, easy left-handed swing that he has. He's just spraying balls all over the place, and so that's what he's going to bring to the table. I think Jack just really kind of wowed you a little bit with the athleticism in that showcase setting. I mean, it's a 6'7", 660, and then he jumped 31.5 inches. So the athlete is going to wow you a little bit in Jack Council, but then he can also play baseball. But the other two, again, just more in-game stuff. Those guys are going to jump out at you with the ability that they have with the bat.
Yeah, Jack Council, obviously the son of Milwaukee Brewers manager Craig. That's the name that everyone knows. I mean, he's been at feature games before. You mentioned the impressive speed that he showed. He's been in the spotlight now for a while, Vinny, and you have to think that all those eyeballs on him at an event like Super 60, it just does not faze him at all.
Yeah, no, and I talk about this a lot when a former scout of the Texas Rangers, and obviously I played for 14 years professionally, and anytime that you do see a kid with that major league pedigree, as Jack Council does have, I mean, it's an advantage. I mean, these kids, Jack in particular, grew up in a major league clubhouse, and so what you're not going to get from those kids is that intimidation factor at events like this. And even when they go into pro ball, and they advance through the levels, they're just not intimidated. And going to a big program like University of Michigan, he's not going to be intimidated there. It's just a matter of them just being comfortable and being able to show off their skills right off the bat, and that is different. And so that is the main thing that you're going to get. And then also obviously all the knowledge that you're going to get from your major league dad. And especially from a Craig Council who not only was a great player, but he's a great manager as well. So he's going to get all the cerebral tips and tricks of it in pro ball, and then obviously in college as well. So that is definitely an advantage.
Well, Cal Fisher, a shortstop, also had one of the top infield velocities at the event. So overall, just a really strong showing for this group of kids from Wisconsin. Vinny, thank you so much, man. We'll check back with you real soon.
Of course. Thanks, Cory.
Drew Burress showed up and he showed out at the Super 60 with the House and County product and Georgia Tech commit, putting together an eye-opening performance at the event. And here he is on the heels of that showcase. Drew, man, good to have you in and appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
So you tied an event record with a 99-mile-per-hour exit velocity in the outfield, had an exit velo in batting practice at 101, a max distance of 350. I know the numbers really impressed. How did you feel about the way things went in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I thought it was a pretty cool event. That's always something I pride myself on doing is going out there when there's baseball to be played. I like to be playing it, and so I mean, of course, I was excited when I got the opportunity to go, and obviously I went out there. And I've always been a guy to put up pretty good showcase numbers, and I mean, I did do that, so I was pretty happy with myself.
So many of those 2023s in attendance are guys you've been around for a while. Who impressed you among the guys that you saw at Super 60?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a funny story. Cole Eaton, he was obviously 101 from the outfield. about as long as I can remember, since we were 15. Every time we go to something, he's always been 2 miles an hour above me, and I was 99. I was like, okay, we got a shot here, and I went behind the thing and I saw him hit 101. So I was like, okay, whatever.
I know this is the kind of event that's become one of those markers on the way to the MLB draft for seniors. So there are so many pro scouts in attendance. Was there like a sense among you guys that this is just the beginning of what could be a really crazy next few months for so many of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, most of us know what's in store and what could happen if we play well this spring. And but yeah, I mean, to me, it was just a fun event to get back around a lot of guys that we played with all summer before we go off these last few months.
How are you personally handling that draft talk? I mean, obviously you got work to do at Houston County, Georgia Tech's on the horizon, but I know performances like Super 60 are only going to make that draft talk louder. Is it possible to tune it out? And if so, how do you do it?
I mean, yeah, you have to. Obviously, it's there and it's going to be in the back of your head, no matter what you're doing. But I mean, same game I've always played, and that's the biggest thing to me. I'm just continue to go out there. I mean, it's my last season of high school baseball. Just go out there and have fun, and whatever happens, happens, and hopefully, I end up doing what I want to do.
So let's talk a little bit about you in Houston County this season. Tell me how good you think this team can be and where you think you are in being able to develop your game and put those final touches on things on your high school career.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a chance to be really good this year at Houston County. We got a lot of depth on the mound, and we got some junior and sophomore bats that have really come along. Obviously, we have Riker Chavis and Andrew Dunford. Riker's going to Georgia. Dunford's going to Mercer. Two really good arms. Carson Small, Brooks Willis, Landon Tangersley, Camden Cunningham, all behind them. I mean, a lot of guys in the bump, which is going to be good. When we go into we're going to NHSI and going to Hoover. Historically in the past, we've always been a program that's we just go to have fun and it's don't really have a chance to compete in it. But with the amount of depth on the mound that we have this year, I think we really have a chance to go deep and compete in those tournaments, which I'm really excited about. And of course, winning a state championship is always the plan. But I think I'm ready to go. I mean, I put a lot of work in this off season, ready to get going, and I know for the most part that I'm not going to get a ton of pitches to hit this year. That I've already seen it in the first couple of games that we played. Just they're really going to like to nibble around the zone to me. But I mean, that's something that I've worked on this offseason is being able to hit some more borderline pitches and just being able to be ready to go from the get-go.
It's interesting you brought that up because Brady House and I talked about that right before he ended up getting drafted by the Nationals, that you go through this process where you build up your resume as a player and then nobody wants to throw to you. I mean, that obviously has to be a point of frustration where you almost have to pride yourself on not going out and being too much of that chase guy at the plate. I mean, so what has been the process for you in terms of how you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, just really to me, I have to look for a good pitch early in the count. If I get something that I can hit and do damage with early in the count, whether it's a breaking ball, fastball, changeup, I need to be able to get to it and not miss it. And that's the big focus for me is early in the count. If I get anything I can do damage with, go ahead and do it.
Awesome. Well, Drew, listen, man, congrats on a great Super 60 showing and best of luck to you in Houston County this season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
And next up, I'm joined by PBR Illinois' Drew Lucasio, whose state was rep by Colin Barcisi, Cal Sefcik, George Wolkow, and Blake Walters. Drew, good to have you back on.
Yeah, good to be on. Thanks, Cory.
So Blake Walters, I mean, made a lot of noise, quite literally, getting up to 97.7 on the mound. Tell me your impressions of his performance.
He blew me away, first and foremost. He was a guy we were excited about for the event, thought he could be a big winner, did not expect him to be pumping 97.7. And not even just the sheer velocity, but he was pounding the zone with it. He was moving really explosive down the mound. It was by far the best we've ever seen him. really put himself on the map, and couldn't be happier for him as a kid. He's a great, great kid, comes from a wonderful family, and he still has a really, really bright future, and can't wait to see what he taps into down the road.
So meanwhile, Kel Sefcik had the highest max exit velocity, the highest max infield velocity. George Wolkow had one of the fastest times in the 60 and the 10-yard dash. Colin Barzisi had flashed his speed as well. They were both up there in max exit velocity. I think suffice to say, Drew, Illinois, they just really showed out in this event.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said it any better. With this event becoming so national, we have to be pretty, picky on the Illinois prospects that get in now. So I was really excited about the 4 guys that were coming, but man, they all, I feel like, exceeded expectations. Kel Sefcik earned his invite at our pro case, which we had a couple days before the Super 60, where he basically showed the exact same thing at the pro case as what he did at the Super 60. He was all over the barrel with some of the loudest contact I've seen in a BP round from a high school kid. And not only is he all over the barrel, but it's up the middle of the field. It is backspin contact. Balls are rising as they're hitting the curtains at the Super 60. Comes from a great pedigree, knows how to play the game, has a high motor. So just outside of what he can do in a showcase, I love him as a game player as well. So really, really excited for Cal and what he did, and for his future. And then, you talk about George Wolkow, probably the most impressive physical specimen at the event. He's 6'7", 237. He ran a 6'7", 560. Launched, I think it was like a 406 max batted ball, which led the event. It's extremely easy and compact at the plate for how big he is. And on top of all of that, he's one of the youngest guys in the draft this year. He reclassed. He's supposed to be a 2024, but he's a 2023 now. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of intrigue on Wolkow moving forward. So Barzy, yeah. So Colin Barzi's been a fan favorite of mine for a long time. From right before we got him into the future games, he could always hit. Big body, highly athletic for his size, can really, really hit, puts together really good in-game at-bats. It's got all kinds of power attached to it. I think he was 3rd in max batted ball from the Super 60, and then also has an absolute cannon for an arm. I want to say he was 2nd for catcher velocity coming out of the crouch during the workout. Ran a 6'9", 60, which is actually slow for him. Said he's kind of tweaked a hamstring from the fall that he's still trying to get over. So he's just a really athletic, strong kid at Naperville Central that can really, really swing the bat. So.
Drew, fantastic stuff, man. I appreciate it, and we will catch back up with you real soon.
All right. Thanks, Cory.